Hey, so this demo, we are going to talk about appropriation. Pretty much, hey, I found this picture, but now we're getting into things we want to maybe manipulate images. We'll do a few demos on image manipulation, like we will do a masking demo, and we'll talk a little bit about adjustment layers as well. So, at the beginning of the semester, we talked about what you can and can't use. And we talked about not everything that you find on the internet is for you to use. And we saw the video on Creative Commons, and then we saw that funny video from Nathan from You with the dumb Starbucks. Additionally, there is a Remix Manifesto. It's a documentary about copyright work and fair use, which it's not required, but I highly, highly, highly recommend. It's a documentary that follows Girl Talk, the artist who does all mix-ups and mashups, and he's been sued many times over. And put it on Vimeo. There's a Vimeo app on the Amazon Fire Stick. If you have one of those, you can plug it into there, have it play in the background while you work. I encourage it. It will have you think about what you can and can't use. Now, we do need to stick into strict rules. So I'm actually going to pull up the PDF, which you all should look at. And it's sort of the step-by-step in what we're going to go for. However, we're going to go through the bottom real quick. Now, typically, and also in your syllabus, it says you need to have an image source list. What does that mean? So previously, I've had students who keep a list of all their images in a PDF and submit it. And this is sort of saying, hey, everything that I've used comes from a source that I'm able to use. This semester, I'm going to try an honor system. We're going to give it a try, and we'll see if it works. So, what can you use? You can only use images that are available for reuse and modification under a Creative Commons license, which we'll figure out how to find those. Public domain. Less than 10% of any copyrighted work. So, if the picture is 10 inches by 10 inches, you can use 1 inch. That's 10% of it. So keep that in mind. Or if you're making a commentary on a copyrighted work. So this is kind of where parody law comes in. We'll talk about that. You have to be 100% sure you can use the image you found on the internet. Any student found breaking this rule will get an automatic 0 in this project. Now you're thinking, oh, Professor Austin can't find anything. I have a master's degree in Google. I will find stuff out, I promise you. There is a reverse Google image search. I can look things up. I am pretty good at researching on the Google. I will find these original images of anything that doesn't feel quite right. And I may ask you to provide your sources, so you may need to be able to find your original images again, or pull up your images again, and that will be on you. And if you are not able to provide me with your original images, then we may have a longer discussion, but let's not let it get to that point. You need to be absolute certain. So let's talk about commentary on a copyrighted work. Now, again, this is kind of a gray area, so here's how I'm going to define it. Let's say John Smith takes a photograph of Justin Bieber for TMZ. And TMZ is an internet tabloid that has a TV show and a website, and they own a lot of images. Photographers sell their images to them, and they post them on the internet, and it's all celebrity gossip. Soon to make a work of art commenting on Justin Bieber's on and off again bad boy, reformed good boy image. So he has these dual roles. If you aren't aware, if you want to discuss this further, you can send me an email. TMZ owns the copyright of the image by paying John Smith. So John Smith no longer has copyright, but TMZ does. It's this big company that will sue you if you're using the image. If your work is about the tabloid image he portrays, TMZ being part of it, you can use it. Again, with modification. It must be your own work. You can't just paste it on there and say, this is mine. If you're not talking about this image in the tabloids and tabloid media, then TMZ probably could come after you and they might have a good case. Now again, you're a student, so it's a little different. So if you're using copyrighted work, you have to be making commentary on the copyrighted work. So an image of Britney Spears is not necessarily a commentary on Britney Spears, but who owns that copyright? Is it Sally Joe on Flickr? She may not want you to use that picture that way, and you have to respect that. And we can look that up. So it's a tough scenario. Typically, if you have to ask, the answer is probably you shouldn't be able to use it. You have to be 100% certain. Now again, you can't ask if you want, but it's kind of, if you do have to ask, most likely it will not work. So let's get to finding images off the internet. So if we go to creativecommons.org, and this is my favorite search engine for this. Will it load? If you go to search the comments, then it's going to pull up a search engine. So this is a search engine that will filter out searches for you. And here it is loading. And you can type in what you want to see. So this is what it looks like. And you can even probably bookmark search.creativecommons.org if you like. So there is media, Google, so that kind of filters through things. Pixabay and Flickr, I think, are probably the best. I usually stick with Flickr because I know I'm going to get really good images. So let's say I want a picture of a cat because they're adorable. You want something we don't actually need something for commercial purposes. We are not making money off something, but if you were, you want to keep that checked. But you want to modify, adapt, and build upon. So this only searches Flickr through this algorithm for things that are listed under this Creative Commons website license. So if you click search, so there's so many pictures of cats, and Flickr's great because you can narrow down images, safe search, maybe even sizes. You don't need to log in. So we'll look through and try to find a good picture. They're all adorable, so it's very difficult. I like this one. So I'm just going to right click. I'm just going to command click to open it in a new tab. I'm going to open a few of them actually. This one is cute. Like her. Oh, and that's just adorable. Okay, so we have 3 tabs open. So if we click on one, it's going to open up a page. And right here, it has some information. So if we click on some rights reserved, it's open up a new tab. And it'll let us know what we can do with it. Now these are little icons taken from the Creative Commons website. So we are free to share, copy, and redistribute, adapt, and build upon. And we must give appropriate credit. So you may provide a link to the license or indicate changes were made. You have to give credit to this. So if you're posting this on Flickr or Instagram or Twitter, you may want to say image it was originally from this artist, and you can create your own document. I'm not asking for a list, but that's something you may want to be careful of, and we cannot make money off of this. All right. So we're going to click this little download link, and I always download the original. Because the original is going to be the largest size. We have this one. Same license as we've seen before. And remember, not every picture you find on the internet may actually fit your needs. So we have several images downloaded. Hi, so that video cut out, but beforehand, so I have my images in my downloads folder, and I had just moved them into my appropriate folder on my hard drive, because if they're down my folder there, I need to be able to access them at all times. So what I did is I selected all of them, and I had just placed them in Adobe Photoshop. But before that, so I did a Google image search of dogs, and we're going to kind of talk about more settings within Google image search. So it's going to help you a little bit like Flickr. It's sort of the whole internet gamut, which I don't really recommend because sometimes you get images that aren't as high quality. So if you click on Google, if your Google image search and click on tools, it kind of gives you size. I always kind of go for large. Usage range. So label for reuse with modification, or even non-commercial, because we're non-commercial. And you have all sorts of images here available, and then you can click and download. But it's always good to visit the website of where the images come from, just to be sure you actually do have the right. Just because it's filtered through Google does not mean it is exactly for you. It's best to deal with sort of these stock images websites. So I have all of my images set up in Adobe Photoshop. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So my thing is now I need them to be 300 dpi for print editing because we're working in a print space. Most images you download off the internet are going to be 72 dpi. If you do not do this step, your whole final image may be... Alright, sorry, third time's the charm. Okay, so we want to make these images 300 dpi, and they may not already be 300 dpi. So, and again, this is all written out in your first PDF that you got in the class, the one you're getting today, and now this. So if you go to image size, so this gives us the dialogues. So it is 64 by 48 inches, 72 dpi. The dimensions are 4,608 pixels by 3,456 pixels. What we need to do is reorder that 72 pixels per inches to 300 pixels per inches. So our inches are going to change here, but our pixels will stay the same. We're just reordering them. So we want to make sure resample is unchecked. Resample must be unchecked. And then you'll click 300 where it says 72. As you see, this changed, but our dimensions did not. We'll click OK, and we'll do a Command S to save. To save our file at our new resolution. So now whenever I need to use it, it'll be at the correct resolution. I'll do the same here. Image size. He's at 240, which is actually native for a lot of digital SLRs. Again, pixels stayed the same. The height and width changed in inches. Click OK, Command S, and save. We'll do it one more time. Yep, 72. Most of your images will probably be 72. Now in doing this, you may find your images may not be big enough. And if that's the case, then you're going to have to deal with it. I know that sounds sad, but sometimes images you find on the internet may not work for what you need them to do. So you can try to make it work or find a new image. You can absolutely 100% never make an image larger than it's supposed to be. So if I wanted, let's see this image size. This is 6 by 8, about 6.5 by 9 inches. If I wanted this to be 10 by 12, I'm sorry, I can't do that because this is how it has to be. I cannot make this bigger. I make it smaller. So you need to be aware of that when you're working. Mine a bunch of images, have a bunch of options, and if something doesn't work, you're going to have to problem solve. So to get practice, you should download a bunch of images off the internet. Check the license if you're allowed to use it, and save them at the appropriate size. And this will be the next step while we get into our masking demo, which will be really soon. I'll see you soon.